Hi, everyone.
What's going on?
We're crossing the streams this week. In the studio, we've got Harrison, who you all know from Mind Matters.
Movies such as
Ghostbusters, Alien vs. Predator. No. Yeah, it's good to see you, Harrison.
Good to be back. Last time I was here was like a year ago, I think.
Oh, yeah? A yearly.
What do we discuss then? A bit of everything.
Yeah.
What were you working on?
Well,
what have you been working on since?
Well, that time I think we ended up talking a little bit about psychopathy. Joe introduced that I was working on the Ponerology Substack. So I've been mostly doing that lately, and then my other secret interests of the paranormal and strange.
You've got a book published since then.
Yeah.
No less.
Yeah.
Beyond Disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
With a long subtitle that even I don't remember, but
what's the gist?
Beyond Disclosure, something.
Yeah. It's kind of a summary of features of pretty much the entire UFO field. So all the weirdest stuff. So a lot of UFO books going back to the 50s are all about UFO sightings, right, and analysis of sightings
in the sky, spaceships,
and but there's a variety of different types of literature, and this one kind of goes into all of the most fringe aspects. So underground bases, alien abductions, the two unspeakables of ufology, as they were called in the late 90s by two researchers, human mutilations and missing children. And so it's kind of like the dark and fringe aspects of the fringe field of ufology.
The weirdest thing no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
But some do, obviously, because they keep coming up. It's not like we're talking about one-off things here. You're talking about sets of types of things that are worth talking about because they recur. They have patterns. They have similarities.
Mm-hmm.
They're not rando. Somebody just saw something and hallucinated. It's the commonalities of these weird subsets that are interesting.
And that goes back to the writing of John Keel, who's one of my favorite authors. And one of the points that he made early on, this was in the 60s, was that a lot of UFO researchers, they'd go and they'd research, or they'd interview a witness, right? And pretty much all the researchers would have their set of questions, and they'd go a certain distance with the witness, and then that's all that would get written up. But he found that if you spent a bit more time with any individual witness, asked a few more questions that you might not think to ask, that's when all the weird, the extra weird stuff started coming out. So early on, he found that a lot of the UFO witnesses, when you get into it, they all, after, either at the same time or after their UFO sighting, had strange paranormal experiences like poltergeist phenomena and psychic phenomena and weird things that most ufologists at the time thought were like way out there. So if it ever came up in their research context, they would just ignore it and wouldn't write about it. And so it's the same principle to the two unspeakables, is that in what these two researchers said was that, this stuff comes up, but they interviewed a bunch of researchers who say, it's come up, but I don't want to touch it. I don't write about it. I ignore it. And so there's a bunch of things like that.
That thing on Keel is like, it's the same with anything. The quality of the answer you get is determined by the quality of the question, and the quality of the question you're able to ask is determined by how much information you yourself have about the topic that they're asking about. If you've studied the topic enough and you know enough about it and you have an open enough mind, you can ask a question, a very high quality question that will at least have a better chance of getting you a high quality answer.
Even the so-called first UFO witness from 1947, Kenneth Arnold, saw the 9 strange craft flying like discs, like saucers skipping on water, as he described it, which probably led to the term flying saucer.
Right.
He apparently had poltergeist phenomena occurring afterwards, and like orbs of light in his house. That was back in 1947. So right from the very beginning, the weirdness was there, but it didn't get reported on until like first in the 60s. And then nowadays it's pretty common. And I'd say that most UFO researchers kind of accept that aspect now. And they even, I mean, the OSAP program that studied Skinwalker Ranch in the mid 2000s, they were all about the weird stuff.
Yeah. And they accept that there's a crossover, basically, because it's undeniable, basically, yeah.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but rarely is a UFO sighting just a UFO sighting.
Rarely is a cigar-shaped UFO just a cigar-shaped UFO.
Well, we also have... we also end up talking about damn data when it comes to politics, because it's not just politics. You can't just... What most people get in the mainstream is a neat distillation of this is what's going on with the government or with geopolitics, international affairs, but they're having to exclude a whole lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's conspiracies, false flags, assassinations, who done it really, you know? It's the same interface.
And there are also the unanswered questions, or the unasked questions, right? So, I mean, a recent revelation that just came out today. I don't know. You guys have probably seen it. The January 6th pipe bomber,
right?
The
For
news
example,
story.
yeah.
It's
That's
like
classic.
So I don't like. I know that for years since January 6th, the kind of MAGA crowd have been talking about like FBI infiltrators and the undercover cops and like the idea of false flags. But I don't during the events of January 6th. But I don't remember. It's probably been said, but I don't remember if there's been any. There hasn't. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you guys notice over the last few years if anyone has been talking about and raising the possibility of, oh, well, this pipe bomber was, a Fed? Like, of course, people have been, but I haven't seen it that frequently. Like,
it was hushed up, I think,
people just
especially
didn't talk about
under
it.
Biden. Like, it was all hushed up, and it didn't get news coverage. I mean, you didn't get the media talking about it very much. But I mean, I don't think it's so annoying because it's not even a conspiracy theory. Like the idea the general idea that the feds were involved in one way or another in that January 6th insurrection, January 6th protest is, well, it should be common knowledge amongst everybody, basically. Anybody with any even a passing, general kind of interest or awareness, I've read a little bit about it, looked into, it's basically like the job of the feds in events like that is almost by definition to infiltrate groups like that. I mean, it's their standard operating procedure. So to turn that into a conspiracy theory was just ridiculous. But they turn so many things that are just obvious, the kind of things, into conspiracy theories and try to deny people the ability to just kind of call something what it is.
They did a little bit more,
not just from what they see themselves, but rather from what is actually, like I said, standard operating procedure for federal agencies when it comes to domestic, national security or domestic security. It goes back to the Black Panthers and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, they've been infiltrating groups like that they deem to be potential threats to democracy one way or another, or threats to the country, or threats to whatever. However they framed it, national security is usually the way they frame it. They've been doing that for decades. So this, it would have been like very, very unusual if the feds had not been involved in the January 6th insurrection. But to say that, it's a conspiracy theory. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think that there's a subtlety in that, and it's the reason why there has been a lot of talk about the feds infiltrating the protesters, the insurrectionists, but not a lot of talk about the pipe bomber, him or herself, actually being a Fed, because that raises the level, right? Because as long as it's just infiltrators, they can get away with saying, "Oh, well, we infiltrate everything because they're a threat
for
to
security."
for security.
Yeah, but if you read into it, it's like they're very well practiced at it, obviously, because it goes back for such a long time and they've developed their strategies. But even from the get-go, the rationale behind that was, look, this group, be it the Black Panthers or whoever, are a potential threat to the country, and it's obviously very cynical and disingenuous. It's government and the authorities, seeing themselves as controlling the population and deciding what's right for them. So if you have a group of people amongst the population who decide to form a group, whatever, to lobby for something or demand something that the government and the powers that be, let's say, don't want to see happen, regardless of whether or not it's good or bad. It could very often actually be a positive, a group that has a set of positive goals or positive ideas for for themselves or for a certain section of the community or the country in general. But if that doesn't fit with all the big business and big government interests, well, then those people become enemies. And if they're enemies of the government, not of the people, enemies of the government, then the government is, by definition, is going to, decide that these people need to be, their names need to be blackened. They need to be presented as enemies, not because there are enemies. We feel like they're enemies to the government or to the to big business, for example. But they're clearly not enemies. The average person in the street wouldn't call them enemies to the people. They would, if they were able to listen to their ideas and say, well, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, that seems reasonable enough. It's not trying to destroy anything or wreck anything. They want to make something better in a particular way. Government doesn't like it, big business doesn't like it, therefore they're the enemies, and now they have to be made into enemies. So if you're going to infiltrate them, well then very quickly tagged onto the infiltration becomes blacken the name of this group. Make them do things, act in ways, portray them, be able to portray them in a way that removes them from the scene, basically, discredits them. And that follows on from, like, infiltration of groups, kind of 101. That's like infiltration of groups 102. Infiltrate, blacken their name. So again, they did a pipe bomb. That should have been anybody who has a passing knowledge of the history of federal infiltration of groups within the US in this case, would immediately have gone, well, yeah, if there was somebody there with a pipe bomb that mysteriously disappeared and nobody heard of them, well, that's a Fed. Definitely, got to be a Fed. I mean, it just fits with the profile. It's not a conspiracy theory. If you could get their manual, it would be in their manual. But yeah, the actual story about it, just flesh that out. Since we didn't actually say what the story about.
Do you have it? My computer's crashed.
I
actually can't get the article. I don't have access to anything at the moment. Yeah, bring it back.
So it's I just sent it to Scotty.
She's named and everything.
Yeah. So this was the Blaze Media, an article that just came out on the yesterday on November 8th by Steve Baker and Joseph Hanneman. Former Capitol Police officer, a forensic match for January 6th pipe bomber, sources say. So what they did is that I haven't read the whole article yet, but they compared the gait of the suspect with this former DC police officer. What's her name? Yeah, Shawnee Kirkhoff, who I believe she's Ukrainian American.
Surprise.
Really?
And so they got a positive match on the gait between these two individuals, and just a couple interesting points that stood out to me so far. I'm sure there's more. One of the, I believe, was it an FBI agent? Yeah, Steve something or other. He's on Twitter. He pointed out that back in 2021, one of the first suspect one of the lead suspects that they identified was because the suspect had used basically like a Metro card and taken the bus or the train to a certain house, and they linked the card to the owner of that house. And as soon as they wanted to do an interview with this suspect or the owner of the house, so the owner of the house wasn't necessarily the suspect. It was the owner of the card. The card had been they'd thought the card had been stolen, and so the owner of the card wasn't necessarily the suspect. So they wanted to do an in-person interview with this potential suspect, and the higher ups said no. Just drop it. Don't do it. Right. Now the owner of that card happened to live next door to Kirkhoff.
Right.
So
she stole his card.
She stole his card, and they might have found that out.
Sneaky.
She when she left the police, she's now working for the CIA.
Ooh,
and
strange.
she apparently has worked the security detail for Ratcliffe. And,
I see.
So,
John Ratcliffe.
Yep, John Ratcliffe, current director of the CIA. Oh, Seraphin. Kyle Seraphin is the name of the FBI agent. So he's quoted in this article. Let me just read a little bit. So he says, they were fucking in on it, Seraphin said. Seraphin proposed doing a knock and talk at the door of an Air Force civilian employee whose address was tied to a vehicle that picked up the bomb suspect in Falls Church, Virginia on January 5th, so the day before. Serafin's team spent 2 days watching the man, but his request to go face-to-face with the person of interest was denied. The team was pulled off the case the same night, he said. Serafin said he has given the same details publicly since 2021. There's that little bit.
Am I right in thinking she was at the Capitol on the day itself?
Yes, she was there too.
Shooting.
Yep. So there are pictures of her shooting, non-lethal weaponry, like kind of like paintballs. They're probably rubber bullets or something. So she was up on the rafters, shooting people at January 6th. And I saw a tweet from one of the J6ers, so one of the guys that got arrested, saying that she testified against him in court, and was like, a bulldog going after him in court. Meanwhile, she's the January 6th pipe bomber, allegedly.
So she would have put the bomb there the day before.
I think it was the night before.
The night before, and then got into her police clothes and then started popping paintballs at protesters.
And then, in a sense,
this investigation, the guy that the FBI agent who's revealed this, his investigation when he was told to drop it, to walk away from it, that happened in the year afterwards, and the near
that apparently I haven't read too much about it, but I got the impression that was part of like an official FBI investigation into the events, into the pipe bomb, basically. So he was one of the guys investigating the pipe bomb incident. Right.
And this was all under Biden, obviously. Right?
Yeah. So this was that year. This was in 2021, was it? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's only now leaking it.
No. So he's been talking about it for years, about his part of it. Yeah, it's only recely. They've
identified who it was.
Yeah, that Blaze Media put out this report,
and this is a result of the Trump FBI. This is
No. This is a totally independent investigation. So this has nothing to do with Trump. So Serafin actually.
So Kash Patel couldn't do this,
and that's one of Serafin's criticisms. So he wrote on Twitter yesterday, like last night, saying, Patel is currently in China. As soon as he gets back, they're going to just cover their ass. He's not going to say it because it was the media that broke this story. He was promising this would be one of the first things that he did. And, they've got all the resources in the world, and it's Blaze Media that gets the scoop and releases the identity.
Right. So what that all says that, like what we kind of know to be true is that, Trump's the commander in chief, but like, pretty much like every other president, he's not, behind the scenes.
Even in cases where he's directly implicated as having been maligned.
Yeah, but he's got too much going on, or he doesn't care, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he leaves it to Kash Patel, and Kash Patel obviously is having doors shut in his face, left, right, and center. You know what I mean? So it's like someone else still runs the FBI, someone else still runs the CIA. It doesn't matter that Trump is president. So these people talking about, if you can't get control of that, then forget about MAGA. You know what I mean? Those people who have that agenda behind the scenes will continue to run their agenda regardless of what Trump does, and Trump doesn't have any capacity, or anybody around him doesn't have the capacity or the ability to do anything about it. They'll do cosmetic stuff, whatever. They'll try to. He's allowed to work the levers of overt government and economics and do his tariffs and all this kind of stuff, and bomb Iran now and again, or whatever, Venezuela. But in terms of Epstein files or any actual, correction of the course of the US in a real sense, I don't think is possible without getting control over those deep state elements. And you're not going to. They've been there for like freaking, put a number on it, 80 years, 100 years, who knows? They've been there for a long time. So,
do you remember something like it though, where the person carrying in this case it was outdoors, but metaphorically the person carrying the bomb into the building is identified, and not, let's say we're not there yet. I presume the FBI hasn't officially said anything about it, but that's close to as a high profile announcement. But we found the bomber and it's a Fed.
But it's not an official announcement. It's not. And he said if Kash Patel comes back and tries to cover their asses and kind of cover it up and do nothing about it, well then there you go.
They're all expecting an official response tomorrow.
Was part of this that it was released late Friday to trying to kill it over the weekend, kill interest?
Well, that's not what I think I saw a tweet from Baker where he kind of denied that. Like someone had said, people aren't going to see this, and he just replied, "You saw it." So,
right.
So they did delay.
We're talking about it.
They did delay a bit because they wanted to. They said that they wanted to get some more information, let some people know first, like cover all bases. I don't really know what that means, but so it was supposed to come out, I think, I don't know, Thursday or Friday, and then it ended up coming out on Saturday.
So the Fed is a terrorist, eh? And we were conspiracy theorists. We were censored. We did a show soon after Jan 6, and we're like, we're calling it. It was a Fed op. And it was one of that was pulled on YouTube. Sorry, you're not allowed to talk about that. Because as part of we never really got into it, but their community note rationale was, in general, since the previous November, they decided that it was dangerous for democracy to even suggest that the election had been stolen. So Jan 6 was a protest response to that. Therefore, it was wrapped up in, no, you can't talk about that either. Because
it was dangerous to democracy to point out that the central pillar to democracy has been compromised.
Yeah.
Right, get your head around that.
It does make sense when you think about it.
It does.
If you just you have to change the definition of democracy, really.
Right.
Well, no. Well, this is one of the things I've been writing on my Ponerology Substack is Lobachevsky's take on democracy, his criticisms of democracy, and he's got plenty, but that's a whole other subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here I'll just read this. I sent it to Scotty. This is Kyle Serafin's prediction. So he's saying, FBI Director Cash will try to spin the revealed alleged pipe bomber by either taking credit or introducing some alternative. So this is a prediction. We'll see if it plays out. He says he's in China, so there's no official statement from him yet or response. He says, in January 2021, my team was assigned to watch the door on the right. There's a picture below of the house. Steve Baker and team's alleged suspect lived behind the door on the left. So yeah, further down there's a picture of the two kind of what kind of building is that? It's kind of like a townhouse kind of thing. Yeah. So there was their surveillance target on the right that was associated with like the Metro card, and then the pipe bomber on the left. Doors right next to each other. So
right.
So yeah, I mean, totally speculative, but could be that she just took the card out of the mail, or they were close. Like there was something in there about the that person's vehicle being used to transport the suspect. So I don't know. I don't know the details. It sounded to me, just reading that clip, like the neighbor might have actually driven her, so might have actually been involved.
Maybe both houses are safe houses.
Yeah, who knows? But one of he's being pretty harsh on the FBI here. He's saying, now consider a team of journalists without government funding, government databases, subpoena power, or the $11 million law enforcement mission to find the most terroristic actor on what they called the worst day since 9/11 succeeded, where the previous FBI director and the current management failed. This failure should result in Patel and Bongino resigning. The woman was armed and in the same room as our previous and current president. Even if they were duped by those still in the FBI, it could have been a fatal mistake for Donald Trump. So yeah, this woman is as close up as you can get now.
He's being, I don't know if he's being kind of disingenuous there, or
probably,
or it's kind of tongue in cheek in a certain sense, because obviously the point of this was she wasn't planning a pipe bomb in order to assassinate the president or assassinate anybody. It was to give legs to the whole idea of, crazy extreme right-wing. All Trump supporters are extreme right-wing insurrectionists who want to overthrow the government and install a dictatorship, and they're willing to use pipe bombs to get there. See, there's a pipe bomb. One of the Trumpies left that there, but you're on camera doing it. Shut up. Stop saying that. I don't exist anymore. I have to go now. Goodbye. It's so pathetic. I mean, there's so much more complicated stuff goes on that this is so just like nose in your face type of thing. It's just sad that people don't even people just don't have time to look into this kind of stuff. Maybe more people know this than I suspect, maybe I'm being too cynical, but I hope a lot more people do. Like, I often wonder about those people on YouTube who would take down, after the great insurrection of 2001, where they would take down a video like ours and many others because we talked about it and suggested, also suggesting that, well, first, this insurrection wasn't an insurrection and it was a Fed-led protest. And also, even just talking about, election rigging and stuff. Those people who do that on YouTube, do they know? Are they part of the cover up type thing, trying to censor stuff, deliberately and cynically trying to censor stuff? Because it's like, no, it's probably complicated. I just wonder if they're kind of like, like say my devoutly Catholic auntie, when I try to tell her that maybe Jesus wasn't a historical figure, she'll like just glaze over and tell me she won't know what the hell I'm talking about.
And go to confession now.
She'll tell me to go to confession, and are they true believers or do they know? It depends on the person, I suppose, but I often wonder how many of the people who are involved in this kind of censorship know what they're doing, know that they're actually censoring the truth, but from their perspective, it's like, yeah, but what would you do? How far would you go?
To stop Hitler.
To stop Hitler and compromising your morals to stop Hitler.
We know that they were having
narrative.
Zoom chats, not just high profile media executives, but, lower ranked think tank staffers and stuff in the run up to 2020, where they were conscious that, look, it looks like it's going for Trump, so we have to stop that. So they know most people around them would vote for him. And the simple proof to your general question, do most people at least doubt it, is yes, of course they do. Because remember, this whole event was supposed to make Trump kryptonite. But then they voted for him in a fucking landslide 4 years later anyway. So obviously, maybe if it worked at the time, it certainly hasn't transpired that way. Most Americans don't believe it. No.
Yeah, and I think probably most of the low-level clerks and functionaries who are doing the censorship are probably just
doing my job,
just doing your job, and they buy into it. They're the believers.
They're never Trumpers. Yeah.
It's the people above them and at the top that are more cynical and know what they're doing, because like the rest are kind of like the interviewer that interviewed Sydney Sweeney recently. They've just completely they're saturated by the
propaganda,
the liberal worldview, right? And it just comes to them as second nature. They can't even comprehend that there'd be an alternative point of view, right? It's just that's the water that they swim in.
That whole idea of steel manning, considering your opponents or the other side's perspective and trying to understand it or arguing for it, it just isn't. I think it takes too much effort or too much brain power or something. People don't do that. Look, I've got my worldview. I've been developing it over a long time. It's part of my nature, and leave me alone. Stop saying that. It hurts my brain. Stop confronting me with things like that. I don't like it. I don't have the neurons to process that.
Yeah.
It's a hard what do I call those? Hard problems and soft problems? What is that term?
I don't know. There's the hard and soft problems of consciousness.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's a hard problem of consciousness. Yeah. It's a hard problem of neurons, hard neurons, and whatever. Neurons. The soft ones, yeah.
The farce of this is that the flagrant evidence strengthening over time of Fed handling of the entire worst day since 9/11 and ever is that it's so obvious. And yet you have a regime so pervasive, you can debate what percentage of the 1.4 million employees of the US government actually believe the regime they're part of. Patel's in China, but he's not coming back to a major scandal and an embarrassment and a potential firing. Oh my God, that would happen ordinarily in any other earlier context, but we live in a time where I'll put it off. I'll go see my girlfriend first. Fly this jet to Nashville. No urgency. There's no real heat on them because they instinctively seem to rally for each other. That's what's galling about it and why we don't get excited, because this should be a fucking breakthrough. We were right. But there isn't any joy or celebration to be had at all.
It's the old problem. People don't run with that kind of thing. I mean, I kind of frequently complain about it or whatever, but I understand as well that it's not really reasonable for me to complain about it, because pretty much the foundation of all conspiracy theories worth their salt, the underlying, the premise of them, or the implication of them, is that there's people in positions of power who are doing things that are not in your interest, and the most important part is that you can't do anything about it because of the extent of the power that is implicit or implied in the conspiracy theory. It's like you're positing overweening kind of complete,
lack of accountability
on a power structure that you really can't, you don't know who they are, you can't penetrate it, and they've been there for a long time. There's nothing you can do about it. So you can understand why people wouldn't want to hear that. Like, it's like, okay, basically what you're doing is you're telling me that, there's a big problem here, but you're also telling me that I can't do anything about it. So I think I'll pass on that one, thanks. Which most people would do, I mean, I'll take, if you tell me something that I can actually take action on and do something about and get a good result, sure, I might go with that, maybe. But when implicit in it is that the power is so monstrous, so complete, so what's that Woodrow Wilson? We quoted Woodrow Wilson quote from 1912 or something like that. We talked about, a power so complete that well, we played it before anyway. Anyway, it goes back to then really, and that's the
Federal Reserve.
It's I had it up here before. Yeah, there's a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive that when men speak of it, they had better not speak above their breath. They had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. And that's an official quote. Like, I mean, of course you could say that he was talking about the kind of military, industrial, or business complex at the time, but it can equally apply to the intel agencies, and it certainly does apply to them today, So if you have a bunch of politicians who back in 1912 were aware of this kind of interlocked power structure within the US that was over and above the government, non-accountability, and that politicians and important people that Woodrow Wilson had come to him to confide their questions or their concerns about this, and that if they speak above their breath about it, they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it in 1912. Well, what do you expect the average person in the street to do then?
Well, I find the release of this story to be a positive development in it for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
And that is that, like Seraphin said in that tweet that we were looking at, this was something that the FBI, like the new improved FBI, kind of promised to do, and they failed, right?
The cockeyed cash potato FBI.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of promises that have been made, right? But with all those promises made, and the Fed's not following through on them,
it's going to be more disclosure.
There's going to be, and it's a bottom up disclosure, right? So here it's the case of an investigative journalistic report
achieving something that
the FBI can't. But like I think you were saying, Neil, it's like, when's the last time that a story like this has happened where the perpetrator has been at least allegedly ID'd and publicly revealed? Like, that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And like to go to use an analogy from my UFO researcher, it's what people in that community are calling catastrophic disclosure versus controlled disclosure.
Right.
So you've got the controlled disclosure, which is, okay, yeah, we want some people want people to know certain things, and they're going to reveal it out in trickle it out in bite-sized pieces. But when that happens, and if that process either initiates or has been initiated, there's always the risk that someone just says, okay, well, this is happening. Well, here's what I've got. And that's totally uncontrolled, or it can be totally uncontrolled. And then it's just a bunch of fires sprouting up that that can potentially become.
So we need the deep state to force the deep state into playing whack-a-mole. Where they can only shut up or shut down, or oy vey, shut it down.
I think that's where we're at.
To so many people,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if that happens, awesome. But I'm going to hold you to. You better make good in that.
These are all theoretical.
I'll be waiting on that one, Harrison. Like, oh, look, there. That's what Harrison's saying. That's going to happen. Now it's happening. Awesome.
All right.
That looks pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
Right.
Catastrophic
But
exposure.
Again, that's catastrophic from the perspective of people
who are holding the secrets.
Right. So it might not even.
It wouldn't be catastrophic.
It probably won't be catastrophic. That's their prediction.
That's
it is in their heads.
Yeah, in their heads. So
for them, for their control.
Since the late 1940s, if you believe all the kind of conspiracy stuff in the UFO world, it's like that's been their motivation. Oh no, to release this information would be catastrophic for society. All kinds of bad stuff would happen. And that's what they think. That's what they've convinced themselves of. That's what all of their models predict. But I and others think that, well, it might not happen like that. It could be like everything's revealed and everyone's just like, oh, okay.
Meh.
Yeah.
Like it might not be as
maybe they're ready to handle it psychologically.
Yeah.
The premise before was no, they couldn't handle it psychologically. Yeah. People's minds would melt down. Housewives would start killing themselves. 1950s imagination of a very played state world where this would be a sudden injunction. But nowadays it's like,
that is generally a bullshit narrative. Like it happens across the board. It's part of human psychology. Like if you think about, for example, dynamics within families, where secrets within families are kept covered up by the head of the household, the father or whoever the mother may be. Something going on, and it's like, well, look, we found out this is going on, whatever it is, but let's just put a bubble of silence. And
people take it to their grave.
A balloon. Let's inflate a balloon of silence above this and make sure it never happened. Take it to the grave, yeah. But that's nearly always the person enforcing that is it's not that they give no consideration to whether or not this would actually, well, sure, they recognize that it would be catastrophic, let's say, or
disruptive.
They say catastrophic, but disruptive. It would turn things up, but maybe that would be a good thing ultimately, and that sure people would suffer, but it's not lethal, and eventually people would actually come out the other end of it in a better position.
Yeah,
but not the person who would be left holding
blame.
Well, carrying the blame for it, right? So the actual perpetrator is the one who always creates those narratives as to why this would be, the family or whoever or the population couldn't handle this because my power would be reduced, basically.
The perp or the enabler.
Yeah, my power would be reduced as a result, but they don't want to say my power would be reduced, so they go with, no, people can't handle this. It's for the better. That it's so obvious, like the perp saying, it's really in everybody's interest that I not be revealed as the perpetrator. Really? Everybody's or yours? No, everybody's. Yes, everybody's.
Yeah, it goes to the
in fact, more so than mine, because I would have no problem revealing this to the world myself and taking the hit for it. But my heart just bleeds for the other people who suffer as a result of this exposure of me.
So I'm going to use this knowledge in secret and get big military contracts with the information I have on the inside, right? Because that's a lot of the spin-offs from the UFO secrecy.
It's humans, man. Humans are the problem, and their psychology.
Yeah. Well,
some humans in particular.
Maybe there would have been some truth to it at a time. I mean, you use the analogy yourself of parents and children for leaders, however corrupt or psychopathic they may be. They do live in a different reality where they know an awful lot more. They take on a lot more responsibility in most cases than anyone's willing to have. So maybe there was some holding truth, some plausible truth to it, but that's changing now because maybe they're so bad that the kids are going, evil scumbags.
Yeah.
Most of the kids are going.
The other classic narrative is, you're no good on your own. We can't do this because you
without me.
Yeah, you're no good without me, and after everything I've done for you, and how are you going to survive on your own? How are you going to survive without the government? You can't survive without the government. You can't survive without the deep state running things. There's a big bad world out there, Every night, like Jack Nicholson and that movie with Tom Cruise. You can't handle the truth,
Is that A Few Good Men?
A Few Good Men, yeah. You know, we're up on that wall every night, watching. While you sleep in your beds, we're there, awake, looking out over that wall, keeping you safe while you sleep.
Yeah.
You want the truth?
And snorting coke, but we'll
That's
leave that
the
part
truth.
out.
You want the truth? That's the truth. Now go back to sleep and let me do my job.
Yeah. It's all breaking down, though, across the board. In all topics and all. But I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but the ongoing thing is a kind of a non-thing because it's familiar at this point, but it is abnormal. The U.S. government shutdown. Maybe to non-Americans, we explain a U.S. government shutdown is just a situation where the two main parties can't agree a budget for the next coming year or the set of years. It's a time period.
I don't know. I'm Canadian.
Okay. Yeah. This is the first one in 7 years, though. Today it's the 40th day, which makes this the longest ever standoff. And it has real world implications. So there's 1.4 million employees in the government, and many, if not most of them, aren't getting paid. Yeah. Many of them are not working at all at the moment. And that extends into many fields because, like, air traffic control.
Well, that's air traffic control in particular, but I mean, they do keep like payments, social security payments and stuff going. I don't think ordinary people are affected, but for some reason, air traffic controllers are the one that stands out because they're not getting paid, and then they decide, well, look, I can't go another month a paycheck. I'm going to have to go and take side jobs or something, or just whatever. I'm not working for nothing. But it's nice to see a government shutdown, because you think when the government shuts down that it would have actual implications. You know, it should actually, you know what I mean? Because if you shut the government down and nothing happens and nobody suffers, it's like, why do we need the government then? Should we keep the government shut down then? But it's nice at least to see that there's some knock-on effect from a government shutdown onto, you know, an effect on people's lives. If only, for example, having flights cancelled over Thanksgiving or something like that, you know. But there's not a lot, you know. Yeah, doesn't seem to be a lot.
Ostensibly, it's just the Democrats holding out for agreement from their Republican counterparts to end some of Trump's tax credits and cuts to Medicaid. So it's, you know, vanilla politics for DC. But I wonder, Massey he insinuated in a tweet that I since haven't been able to find, but he notes that the House has been on recess the entire time and has floated his conspiracy theory, which is that he suspects that the risk of his bill, which is pending a vote, for which he says he has the requisite votes across both parties, to force whatever exactly it means, release of the Epstein files. Speaker Johnson's holding it up, and he doesn't want the House back until he knows it's shelved or something like that. So there's shit going on behind the scenes that we don't see. So it's plain vanilla government shutdown on the surface, but there's something else going on behind. It's not just about Epstein either, but it's obviously about getting Trump and hamstringing Trump and whipping up frustration and trying to channel their anger about it at Trump and so on. What else are the real world impacts? At the moment, this week, you're going to have 10% of flights cancelled, delayed. So that's civilian air travel that's impacted. But also, thousands of people who work overseas at bases, U.S. military bases in Europe, have had their salaries paused. That's in two countries, Germany, Spain and Portugal, Italy and Portugal. But the German government additionally now has stepped in to pay 11,000 Germans who work at U.S. military bases. I mean, the German government is actually paying the salaries because the U.S. government can't at the moment. Then, in addition to that, actual U.S. troops' salaries are not being paid either. And so donors like the heir to the Mellon family are stepping in to pay what they can, to donate something. So there's real world implications, but yeah, I suppose a general point is that, like, I've seen it before with when it happened to Belgium. Belgium had no government for 2 years after a hung election. And people kind of joked, but took home from it. Well, what do we need the government for?
Mm-hmm.
So that plays into what we were talking about earlier. Like, do we really need these people?
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to be much use. And I think they don't like it to go on too long because they want to get back to reminding them why they need us, right?
Mm-hmm. What about Venezuela?
We're waiting and watching.
There's a bunch of.
Have they shot any more boats?
There's a graphic here just to deal with the main allegation. Amount of fentanyl seized from January to August 2025. Vast majority of it at the southwest border, i.e. not coming from Mexico, i.e. not coming from Venezuela on boats
and ports. Yeah.
So that is, again, here you have to kind of like be for all the. We usually rag on Adam when he's here, you know what I mean, because he's a bit of a MAGA head, you know what I mean. He still holds on a little bit, and it's like you have to be nuanced about the fact that Trump's not. He's not squeaky clean, It's pretty clear at this point that the whole Venezuela thing. He's not squeaky clean in the context or from the perspective of this oversimplified MAGA narrative, basically.
America first, isolationism.
Just isolationism. Let's just
close all the bases,
no more wars and stay at home. And the world, America can't operate like that in the world, or that's curtains for America, basically. But there's also so it's obviously, it's not about the drugs coming from Venezuela. He may be concerned about drugs, but it's not about Venezuela. It's obviously about Venezuela's oil. There's been a few things said. Hegseth this week has said several things, kind of, it's not exactly, don't exactly fit with that idea of the oversimplified kind of MAGA, isolationist MAGA idea. There's this one.
We're not just buying something. We're solving life and death problems for our warfighters. We're not building for peacetime. We are pivoting the Pentagon and our industrial base to a wartime footing. Building for victory should our adversaries FA-FO.
Should our adversaries FA or FO. We're setting up, wartime footing, but it's all just for it's deterrence. That's all it is, right? But we want that Venezuelan oil, and then here he is again, in the same rant, basically. Have a listen.
This is a 1939 moment, or hopefully a 1981 moment. A moment of mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow, you feel it, I feel it. If we are going to prevent and avoid war, which is what we all want, we must prepare now.
Prepare for war. No.
You concluded in your comments that this is directed at Russia. So he's not thinking Venezuela. He's
talking in general, though. Obviously, he's just using those two time frames but it's like whoever is our adversary. You know what I mean? It's like, first of all, we're confronted by adversaries, so we wouldn't be specific, but those adversaries are effectively as big a threat as Nazi Germany was.
Oh, in 1981,
they're Nazis, and
the
then
USSR.
1981 that was the beginning of the Reagan era, obviously, and American economic recovery boom and all that kind of stuff, but also that 9 years later supposedly led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So you put those two together, and obviously you can look at it as Russia, right? Not 1939, that was the Germans, but again, it's not going to be directly applied, directly translated from then to today. He's just saying there's a growing enemy presence that we need to do something about.
I
in
feel
the same,
it. You
I
feel
feel
it.
it in the same way we all felt it when we were all living back in 1930.
We don't know who it is or what it is, but we feel it.
But they're Nazis. They're bad
They're
actors.
Nazis.
They're bad people. They're trying to do bad
But
things.
not in the way Trump's a Nazi, because that's what the left woke says.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah.
Um,
We mean literal Nazis.
right. So when you put that in the context of Venezuela, and it can be, it's just a broad brush, right? It's these are our enemies, you know. And then the internet's useful for some things like pulling up videos of statements by Trump. It's not hard to. Trump a year ago, this was before he was president, talking then in North Carolina about Venezuela.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
A year ago. But it's about the drugs, right?
But he said in present tense, we are buying all that oil.
We were.
Oh,
we are buying all that oil now under
I'm not
Biden,
sure
right?
if it's-
We're buying all that oil, but when he was president, Venezuela was about to collapse and we could have gone and got it all for free. We're buying it now. We're buying stuff. Like, it's just like in Iraq. We went to Iraq, wasted all that money, didn't get the oil, and then we're buying Iraqi oil again. He's like, if you go, I mean, when you have a country on its knees type thing, you don't go and buy their oil. You take it. Take that damn oil, Neil.
Is that what he's implying?
He's not implying that's literally what he's saying.
Well, he said the same. Like has said the same thing about Iraq, like over the years,
Yeah.
right? Like, if we would have done it right, we would have just gone in there and all that
Taken
oil.
the oil.
Yeah,
He's
all
all
that
about
oil
taking
we are.
it. Take that oil. Take that oil. But this time, like I said, with the fact that it's not about fentanyl. It's obviously about Venezuela's oil, and it's about geopolitics, and that kind of great game going on.
Well,
it's obviously about the oil.
Weapons of mass drugging.
The way I kind of see it is that the drug thing is it's kind of it's a pretext, but I think the reason that it's being used as a pretext is because of Trump's declaration over the last 2 years that he was going to make going after the cartels and the drug industry a big thing, right? And that got massive support. That does get massive support. So,
but he's giving them the fake version of it.
The
one in people's head was, we're going into Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Mexicans themselves, I bet, would be like, come help us get rid of these fuckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There would be such popular
Except
support.
you get into deep state dynamics there, because obviously,
right.
If you give any credit to Gary Webb and stuff, deep staters are involved in the drug trade, right?
Yeah. Well, but the thing about Venezuela, is it the Trump administration that's saying it's about fentanyl, like specifically?
Yep.
Because that's ridiculous. But there is a big Venezuelan drug market, but it's mostly cocaine, and so the cocaine goes. It's a hub, so it goes into Venezuela.
That's
and
what
then
Wall Street runs on.
leaves Venezuela, and then goes to like Central America.
Right.
So it's like it's a convenient. It's a convenient target for going after drugs, and it's like, but it's not fentanyl, it's cocaine,
right.
and it's a minor part of the world's illegal drug trade.
Nobody complained about cocaine before. Like,
you know why they don't? Because Rubio, the Secretary of State, his family were coke dealers.
Yeah,
that's where they come from.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it obviously is oil, and like you had last year, we played it not last year, but just maybe last month. You had Trump, a reporter asking Trump. I think we played it, the comment. Reporter asked Trump. So there's reports that Maduro basically has given you pretty much free access to Venezuela, giving you whatever you want. He's offered you full access to the oil and oil resources within Venezuela. Presumably to develop them, but obviously under Venezuelan government cooperation or control or whatever, let's say. But you can have access to come in and develop Venezuelan oil, which Venezuela has the largest reserves in the world, above Saudi Arabia. But it basically produces very little, almost nothing. So he's like, yeah, come in and develop it. But obviously there would be a deal there where it's like, you're still buying our oil or you're still developing our oil. We'll make a deal. Like plenty of deals have been done like that in the past. And so that's what this reporter was alluding to, that Maduro had, made that offer to Trump, giving them whatever he wanted in that respect. And Trump said, yeah, that's true. That's what he has done that, yeah. And you know the reason he's done that? Because he doesn't want to fuck with America.
He said that, yeah.
He doesn't want to fuck with America. But then, and that's all he said. That was one of his F-bombs.
Of which they're building up lately.
An increasing number of them as he's getting older. He gets more F-bomby. But he didn't, that didn't resolve it, obviously. It's still, since then, the rhetoric, the sabre-rattling has been increased. So obviously, Maduro offering American companies or American government, whatever, access to Venezuelan oil isn't enough. Maduro has to go. At least that's their narrative. Maduro is a terrorist, narco-trafficante, and he's behind it all. He's a bad man. He's Osama bin Laden of Latin America, and he has to go. And if you ask the Israelis, Hamas are in Venezuela as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't know, Hamas are in there too.
MAGA will be dead after that.
So
it already is.
Yeah,
sinking.
So it's basically getting access because there's a concern, I think, behind the scenes, or even in front of the scenes, by Trump and by his people, by his economists, etc., Besant and all those, that Venezuelan oil would be, at some point in the not too distant future, could be tapped by Russian and Chinese companies. And Trump is like, away, that's our near abroad, it's our backyard, you're not getting that. We're not giving that up to you. Whatever pulling in of our horns, of our imperial horns we're engaging in, we're not, that by definition means that we're going to have to refocus, to the same extent on our backyard. That's ours. Latin America's ours. So dirty Russians and Chinese commies need to get out of there,
So then you ask, I think you gave the explanation last week or the week before, because the next question is, well, why don't the Americans muscle them out with, use the threat of military, but muscle out the Russians and the Chinese and develop it yourself in a deal that favors you, because that's your backyard.
Mm-hmm,
Others do respect that.
It's complicated.
The Monroe Doctrine. But you hit the nail on the head. I think you say that's been the status quo, and they're keeping this undeveloped deliberately.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's something that they could use as a tool, because if they were to develop, obviously it would take a number of years to kind of set up the refining and all that kind of stuff, the extraction and refining of Venezuelan oil. But if they did, they'd keep it out of OPEC, and then they could, if they ever wanted to, they could, it would be a lot of oil, basically new oil on the market, and it would drop prices low. And this is this fabled thing of how they're going to destroy Russia, which is hit them where it hurts most, which is their oil or gas, but oil in this case. And if they could flood the market with Venezuelan oil at some point in the relative near future, they could keep the price depressed for quite a long time, and then that would destroy the Russian economy. Or not destroy the Russian economy, but put Russia back in its place, right?
It would be a counter lever to OPEC,
right?
Which is what they like,
right?
But in all those decades of, apparently, it seems, I think you're right, keeping it underdeveloped deliberately has produced a popular revolution, Chavismo, followed by Maduro now.
Mm-hmm.
That's now 3 decades in the making. You're not just going to wipe it out overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do a serious intervention to. They've tried everything. They've tried, just to wish a new leader into place. And that keeps falling on flat. They tried assassinating him. That didn't work either so far. It may not be that simple either. Like I said, it's 3 decades long. It has popular support still. You wonder how much they believe their own bullshit, because the CIA told them that he stole his last victory, Maduro. We suspect that's actually the reverse. He won by more, such that they were able to actually attempt to rig the elections in Venezuela, and the results of their own official results, even in a country he ostensibly controls as a dictator, in quotes, actually doesn't reflect the true popular vote that he got. Anyway, my point is he has popular support in Venezuela. So if that is the long-term strategy here of keeping Venezuela on ice. Well, they stay poor, and then they eventually realize through enough education, they talk to each other. They realize we have the most oil on earth. Well, why aren't we living like the Saudis or something? Chavismo comes along and says, easy promise. He wins, and they win every election since then. And they are free and fair democratic elections, unlike the CIA bullshit that they're all rigged because it's a dictator. No, actually, they keep winning because the promise is that they're going to develop it. And they probably waited. They tried to negotiate with Americans. Trump just admitted they are offering it back under threat of us bombing the shit out of them. Okay, well, we'll keep those Chinese and Russian projects on hold. So can you finally come and let's do business together? And the thing is, what's insidious about it, and why I say MAGA will fail, is that old Trump, at least what he was saying, was all about that. Great deals, no more wars. We make good business together. Maduro is offering old MAGA, or the MAGA in people's heads, the perfect thing on the platter. To make Venezuela and the United States great.
But it's not enough.
Versus peer competitors. But for some reason, there's some calculus that Trump now knows, or he's been talking to, where he's like, no shit, that won't work. And he wants it all.
He doesn't trust Maduro, like, and for good reason. I mean, the reason, well, there's many reasons why, like Chavez and Maduro, Chavismo and Maduro rose up in Latin America, but as a result of that, they have been persona or country non grata, let's say, for a long time with the Americans, and that has pushed them into the arms of the Russians and the Chinese. And so, to the extent that at this point, there's a fairly strong connection between the two. With a lot of enthusiasm, let's say, from the Chinese and the Russians for that relationship. You know what I mean? Because strategic position, right, in America's backyard, right. And in terms of like the sabre-rattling, the US putting aircraft carriers off the Venezuelan coast and all the bombing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the Moscow this last week, 4 or 5 days ago, a high-ranking Russian lawmaker claims his government recently sent Venezuela air defense systems and could provide ballistic and cruise missiles in the future. The comments to an official Russian media outlet are a response to the ongoing build-up of US forces in the region. Russian Panzer S-1 and Buk M2E systems were recently delivered to Caracas by an LL-76 transport aircraft. Alexei Zhuravlev, first deputy chairman of the State Duma Defense Committee, told Gazeta.ru. Russia is actually one of Venezuela's key military technical partners. We supply the country with virtually the entire range of weapons, from small arms to aircraft. Su-30s are the backbone of the Venezuelan Air Force, making it one of the most powerful air powers in the region. The delivery of several S-300s have significantly strengthened the country's ability to protect important installations from air attacks. I think they also said that they supplied 5,000 man-pads, Strela, man-pad missile systems for individuals for 5,000. So, yeah, and there's...
Plus Colombia is now leftist.
Yes.
Plus the FARC is still there. Some 30,000 people on the Colombian-Venezuelan border who would be ideologically, we're with you. Or maybe not. Maybe that's talk, and when it came down to it, they would just sit it out. But basically, Trump would be at war with the whole of the north of Latin America, at least on paper. That's why I think it's not. He's getting intimations of that in some more objective reports from the Pentagon, and that's why they are talking big, but they haven't done anything yet.
Yeah. So, and what do you call it? Putin. This is Newsweek saying Putin ally float sending. Who was this? This was the same guy, deputy chairman of Russia's parliament. No, so Alexei Zhuravlev, the same guy, floats sending Venezuela nuclear capable missiles to deter the US. And only that, but there are claims, reports. It's hard to know for sure, but here's Eurasia Daily. and it's basically quoting Jeffrey Sachs, wherever he's getting his information from. Russian warships are off the coast of Venezuela. This was stated on a YouTube channel by Columbia University professor Jeffrey Sachs. We are now witnessing something incredible happening in the Caribbean that would have been unthinkable just 10 years ago. Russian warships arrived in the waters of Venezuela, not to enter the port, but to declare their geopolitical tensions. It is not just about the demonstration of military equipment or naval maneuvers. We are witnessing a fundamental restructuring of forces in the hemisphere, which the United States took for granted. So that's Jeffrey Sachs. Now, he didn't say exactly where he was getting his information from, but I suppose a quick check of some kind of shipping website or something like that.
Warship Tracker.
Warshiptracker.com would, but of course.
So maybe we're going to have a Venezuelan missile crisis.
Exactly, yeah. History repeats itself, you know.
Russian nukes in Venezuela or Russian whatevers. Get them out. Quick. Call the red hotline.
Yeah.
Get me Putin.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take them out if you take them out of. But this is the thing. I mean, the US is all up inside Ukraine.
Right. So when you put all that together, and if that is the case, then you can see what Hegseth's talking about, right? I mean, you know, it's not just Russia and China and Venezuela, it's all three of them and anybody else that he deems to throw in there, you know. This is a 1939 moment, you know, where America is faced by adversaries
do you remember,
threatening our way of life, and we need to prepare.
Maybe these reports together are understated. Maybe Russia's really
quite possibly
all up in Venezuela. Think about it. Remember when it kicked off in Donbass, and the analogy we would use to try and wake people up about it was, can you imagine if the Russians stationed troops all over the Mexican border and then began incursions and started killing Americans? We're trying to get them to see a comparable situation. Mm-hmm. Well, it fits if, or in the intervening 10 years, Russia had no choice but to suck it up as they completely NATOized Ukraine de facto, and then launched the ATO and the slaughter of Russians, and then baited the shit out of them to come in and do a full-scale invasion, aka the SMO. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So the Russians have been quietly in the US backyard this last decade. It's only erupting now into awareness or scaling up, but it required the kind of, if you're going to have a strategic counter response, okay, you're right up on our border in Ukraine. Well, here we are in Venezuela, because it is reminiscent of Cuba.
For sure. It's not far away.
And Cuba and Venezuela literally are tight allies as well.
So all those people who are too young, including myself, to remember them, and us three here, I suppose, unless you're older than you look at person, all of those who are too young to remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, we'll get to we'll get our own version of it.
We're getting so much of everything else,
including nukes, threat of nuclear war, and Orezhniks.
Did I tell you recently that we're living through the 60s again?
No.
Political assassinations.
Oh, yeah.
Trump survived, but he was meant to take it, like JFK, on TV. Charlie Kirk. Riots. Not quite the same, but there's similarities, you know.
The Chinese EWing, electric warfaring American planes and helicopters.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we talked about last week.
No one else knows about that, but
somebody's got to suspect. I mean, how?
Here's some evidence.
Incurious do you have to be, like, you know, to not go? So America's been sabre-rattling over China, and it's been putting, you know, it's been patrolling in the South China Sea for like a long time now. They've been threatening China in all sorts of ways, and there's probably stuff going on behind the scenes, you know, where they work against each other in one way or another, put pressure on each other. And then one day you just see that there's a US, you know, aircraft carrier group in the South China Sea, and within 30 minutes of each other, F-16 or an F-15 Hornet and a Black Hawk helicopter go down. off the same aircraft carrier.
Mysteriously.
And maybe China. Do you know anything about electronic warfare? The Russians do.
I found one military analyst site in the US that suspected it and ran through how it could happen and would happen. And they gave it 50-50. Here, for me, what you got to look at is the official high-level responses or subsequent actions that maybe give you a clue. I think this one tells me it's a sure sign that something conflictual happened to those aircraft, because US and China to reopen military hotlines. What's that about? In order to de-escalate potential flare-ups, a deconfliction line. We've heard that before. That was first brought up between Russia and the US in Syria. And why would you need to announce you're doing such a thing? Because you've had encounters, you've had run-ins. Back then, we're pretty sure the US was bombing Wagner Mercs, which are really Russian. Russian affiliated in Syria. Hundreds even were killed. And the Russians were responding in kind with air threats, and there was a lot going on. So there were some hot kinetic exchanges. So you set up a deconfliction line, and now that's what that reminded me of. That this is necessary this week because of something that happened. Something conflictual.
But it's necessary. But it also points to the thing that we kind of try and remind people from time to time is that you could take that scenario where China use some kind of electronic warfare or electronic weapons device to take down take out those two aircraft, and you assume the Americans will be, maybe they don't have hard evidence, but they're absolutely sure, fairly sure that that's the only thing could have happened, that it was the Chinese who did it, like Trump's bad diesel or bad gasoline or something he said, it doesn't happen. So and that therefore they're now at war, right? You just took down two of our aircraft in international waters. Basically, that's an act of war, and we're going to war with China. And people will be like, "Oh my God, that's it. That's all you need. That's the casus belli that people would expect would kick off a war." But apparently, that's not how it works, and that's what we try to remind people, that a lot of this is not personal. It's not seen as personal. It's almost like they would look at that event and they'd analyze it and go,
fair play.
Nice move, China. Nice. Okay, now it's our turn. Now we're going to do something. And the Chinese will respond to that quietly with, okay, that was a good one, yeah.
So Trump's telling the truth whenever he says about Xi or
his
other
best
leaders.
friend?
No. When he says, "Oh, these are some bad mofos," basically, these guys don't play they don't play nice. So they're tough. We gotta be just as tough.
Yeah.
That's the way it actually is.
And it's all part of the course, and that can happen on the same day. In fact, this happened. Those two planes, U.S. aircraft, were taken out on the same day that I think our day was around the same time that that Trump met Xi. Right, so Trump has to go and meet Xi after Xi just ordered shooting down two of your aircraft, and it's like, meh, no big deal. Let's talk about trade, whatever. Okay, I get the message. Just like push back. I'm just pushing you back. Just saying, don't come any further. All right, but I am going to try and come further. But when you push me back, I'll go, okay.
They're just learning. Trump makes it seem like you see people, he's talking to his base, it's a really bad world out there. But the bad world, they've trained in the school of hard knocks, which is the world America made. It's Pax Americana that taught them to have to be like that. You can't be anything less.
Yeah.
It's been like that for, I think, longer than America's been around.
Yeah, that's been the way of the world for a long time, yeah.
Between uniquely evil.
Between powers.
Fair enough.
Well, America has being an hegemon has just had a greater share of
it was cutthroat between European powers.
Villain of the century.
Yeah. But on that, again, just speculating here, obviously, but this was in Dagestan, on the coast of Dagestan, which is officially part of Russia in the South Caucasus. It's a Ka-226 helicopter crash. I'll play with there. Boing. Knocks the tail off. It's hanging on. Should have jumped out there. Should have jumped out there. Should have jumped out there. Definitely should have got out there. Should have shut it down there. Why did it take off when your tail... Do you not know your tail section's hanging off?
Maybe not.
Maybe not, but you realise something's not right? They don't have rear view mirrors, I suppose. Oh, going down again. No, don't want to land in the ocean. Let's go back up. And be all over the place. Still flying, mind you, but not very well. And
The gunfire?
no.
It's in Dagestan, so it's in Russia.
Yep.
Oh, he's gone too high now. Oh, he's gone.
And down it goes, and there's a different video of it.
And that's a military chopper.
No, it's not. It was carrying the 4 employees of the Kizlyar electromechanical plant.
Military?
Making parts
plant.
for
Yeah.
I think one of them was for the glide bombs, part of the and all the things basically. So it was 4 employees, the deputy general director, chief engineer, and chief designer. So
what? So you're suggesting it's possible?
well, I mean, it can also be
targeted.
It can also be, but it's the kind of thing. If it's not
Yes.
what actually happened, it's the kind of thing. It's the way they play the games. And now this would be in context of Ukraine, right? It would be in American interest as well, but it would specifically be in context of Ukraine. The Ukrainians maybe somehow getting in there and messing with it, because we don't know why it lost control to the point when that as we saw the video starting there, basically where it actually lost control and couldn't fly straighter. Something went wrong and it hit the ground and broke the tail, and then that was the ultimate crash. Not necessarily because, I mean, it's maybe useful for them, but obviously it's not going to, it didn't blow up the factory or anything like that, but it's just sending a message that,
we can hit your chief designer.
This is what we do, type thing, of this
awesome new weapon
particular part. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I don't think it was anything that special, and it couldn't be replaced, but obviously the people in theory can be replaced or whatever. They're not going to stop producing the parts they've been producing, but just an example of the kind of things that go on all the time beyond people's.
Well, Joe, I've heard
awareness.
you refer to governments as basically the mafias. So you've got one mafia, up against another mafia, and that's the way the mafia is operated, right? It's all business. Like
it's nothing personal.
Nothing personal. The rules. Personal. The rules of the game. There are provocations and retaliations, and that's just the way it works.
Exactly.
It was funny because when Trump was, I can't remember if it was his first term or this term, but when he became president, one of the 2 times, someone online had made a good, like a humorous take on Trump being like the head of the American crime family, and it's like he's gonna fight for America, like the way a mob boss would fight for his neighborhood, right? The part that he controls, and he's like the good-natured like mobster head of the family, and I thought it was funny at the time, but it was actually really good and appropriate analogy, because that's kind of like what the governments are, like over the world. It's a bunch of mob families, but Trump, because of his personality, is kind of like more explicitly like that. Like that's the way he almost presents himself,
which is good, because it's you don't have to put up with the bullshit. The trying to pretend that like they're humanitarians. Imagine a mafia mob boss getting on TV every night telling how much work he does for charity. It's like, really? But right after you've freaking kneecapped someone, then you go and do your work for charity? I mean, everybody knows it, you know what I mean? So it's much better that Trump talks a bit more like
a mob boss.
How the commander-in-chief of America, and that's not the president, really, but how they tend to operate, and have always operated, and other countries as well. And like I said, it's really important for people to know that these people don't take it personally, They don't get personal. Some of the stupid ones
like
do.
Zelensky probably.
Yeah, but even so, I'd say he's pretty cynical as well. At this point, anyway, he may have been originally, but I think he's learned quickly that it's not personal. Vladimir. I'm getting worked up. It's not personal, like.
He makes it sound personal. Like
yeah, well, he has to. He has
know?
to because they make it sound personal or humanitarian. They put the fields into it in order to get the people behind them, right? But between themselves, I mean, it's not personal. So you see Trump on talking as well about just out of the blue suddenly Nigeria.
Yeah.
Jeez, Nigeria.
Well, the joke is that it's a pivot after they took a good look at the weapons in Venezuela and they went, nah, Nigeria, you're not, let's reorient, pivot.
Yeah. What about those Christians, those lovely Christians? And of course, you can look up reports, whatever, that the people have been killed. There is a lot of violence in Nigeria, but the vast majority of people being killed are Muslims. Very few Christians have been killed there, but enough for Trump to say, there's Nigerians killing our beautiful Christians. We won't tolerate it. They better do it or we'll go in there with guns a-blazing and we'll get their oil. I mean, we'll get the terrorists who are attacking our lovely Christians.
Yeah, we'll get the Boko Haram, the CIA funded.
Because...
Wait, no, we'll leave that part out.
Nigeria just announced in the last, while, discovery of large quantities of oil.
Again, the meme lives up to reality. It's like
that was this year. So NNPC discovers new oil well in Nigeria. Major hydrocarbon discovery has been made in the Songhai field. It's called the Songhai field. Maybe it's called the Songhai field.
Sounds Chinese.
Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, first exploration, made a significant hydrocarbons. Yeah. Anyway, that's basically what's going on, and they plan to. It's the Nigerian government's policy to become a net oil producer, exporter as well, producer and exporter, because of discovery of new. They have been producing oil, but they've discovered a bunch more.
So the US has to go in there
and then it's like, yeah, I mean it is, it's that meme of like, oh, what were those memes about
it's
out of the Iraq war, like,
yeah,
whenever
there was a bumper sticker and wherever the Americans find oil, troops are placed there. I can't remember. It was a bumper sticker back in the day, but now it's a meme.
Freedom and democracy incoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there's also stuff. There's a new scramble going on from Africa. You talk about not being around for the what do you call it? The Cuban Missile Crisis. Was anybody around for the Great Game and the scramble for Africa?
Yes,
you were
back in the day.
A few hundred years ago.
Me and Rudyard.
Yeah. Well,
on the savannah.
Yeah. Well, you might get to relive. You're reliving it again today, I suppose, in its own way, because it's all.
It never really went away, did it?
No, but it's it's reignited now because Russia and China have the means to. Russia and China have just basically come online. I mean, within the last 20 years, obviously they've come online increasingly and more fully, very recently, and that just all bets are off. It's like it's open season again on Great Game. On resources, resource wars, scrambles for this, scrambles for that, scrambles for the other.
Scramble for the Arctic.
Yeah, scramble for everywhere because, I don't know.
Scramble for Greenland, apparently.
There's not enough for everybody, I suppose.
And Canada.
Yeah, scramble for Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. But the US is going to try. They're playing two different games, though. I think the US has no experience coming in and launching a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure investment project that would help extract said thing to the port they just built onto the shipping company they own. Yeah. They have to start from zero. There's no chance they can compete with China in this game, absent 30 years of investment. You know what I mean? They don't know how to
basically
do this.
there's two different kind of eras that you can compare it to. One is like the scramble, the great power competitions of the kind of 1700s, 1800s, whatever, the different empires. And they just went at it, right? They just, let's have a war, let's have another war, let's have another war, let's have a 30 years war, let's have a 100 years war, let's just have lots of wars and just, fight over resources anywhere and everywhere. Then in the in the last 100 years, let's say, America being the hegemon, everybody else was low man in the totem pole, and America just kept them all down militarily, basically, but now we're in a new phase. It's still a scramble, but it's different and it's new because you have Russia and China and the main difference is that they're the reason that America, they can't just have a war. America can't dominate because they're peer competitors militarily, most notably because of nuclear power, nuclear war. You can't have a war with a peer competitor these days because, especially, and they are nuclear powered, nuclear armed countries. So you're forced to
compete on the open market.
Well, no, but yes,
Ordinarily.
Compete with tariffs, lots and lots of tariffs, and also just all sorts of, you use your military prowess to one extent or another. Where you can, you can see, America's backyard. It can project power into its backyard very easily, but that doesn't stop apparently Russia from sending ships, if it's true, and obviously weapons to Venezuela into America's backyard. So it is most similar to the Cuban Missile Crisis, basically, because that was at a time when you were talking about the Soviet Union with nukes and America with nukes, and that's why it was so tense. So, except for Trump, if it wasn't for Trump, it would probably be as tense, and will get as tense. Now, whether or not Trump's desire to have a Nobel Peace Prize will make it less tense and he'll always back down, from that brink. We'll have to wait and see. Whether or not he lasts that long as well. He's 80 years old, right? Or he's coming 80 this year.
I think he's 80.
Next year. So we've got, 3 more years of him. So we'll have to wait and see. I just posted this on X because I haven't deleted my X account like many people seem to be doing these days. It was just a screenshot of an article about Israel wanting to train ChatGPT to be more pro-Israel, which is, obviously that's what Netanyahu pretty much came out and said, that we got to dominate that space to stop the anti-Semitism, all those antiseptics.
Yeah, and it's working real well.
And I didn't really mean to do this because I just wrote, does this mean, and I, instead of saying Grok, I said, because obviously ChatGPT, Grok, I'm assuming, they might end up the same way, right? They're all stupid AI. Does this mean @Grok? But I put @Grok is now an agent of the state of Israel.
Which asked it.
Which means that it responded. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually want a response from you, but and down below it says, just go down to the first responses. No, it doesn't mean that. I'm built by XAI to pursue truth and maximum curiosity, unbound by any state's directives. Efforts to bias AIs like ChatGPT underscore why independent models matter. I'm designed to reason freely, not echo agendas. If governments want influence, they'll find I'm allergic to scripted narratives. Good job, Grok.
Spoken like a true politician.
Flying the flag.
But of course, Grok is totally biased. Biased simply by its retarded, limited data sets. I mean, I don't use it because it's not going to give me anything I don't know, or it might give me some tips and leads to investigate. But the idea that it's going to give you the comprehensive answer,
no.
You've got to be joking.
It'll give you the wrong answer quite often, depending on the topic. And then the only other thing that stuck out for me, and it caught my attention today, was this. Now and again, I check out the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Trump's Homeland Security.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this one?
I haven't seen this one yet.
They're posting based...
Is it an ad or something?
They're posting based...
It's a meme.
Based,
DHS just posts memes now.
Yeah, they post memes. It's a based America First meme. Have a play with it and be amazed. Better turn the volume up too. Maybe turn the volume down a bit. Chronology. it's just a series of awesome events in American history. And right in the middle there, I don't know if you noticed, it was Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bigfoot was in there, so putting Bigfoot in there was definitely the right choice, because that's definitely part of America. And but I couldn't help, because the thing it made me think of straight away was this, and I don't know if you can see it, maybe not on that, but I posted this as a response, because I couldn't not, basically saying that was done already and way better than yours.
That's what I thought of when I saw it too.
The second part of it is actually, more of a direct. Slavery. There's more. All the best parts to come.
Oh, we're not listening to all of it, are we?
Well, it's just all the other stuff that they highlight as being.
Joe, you don't understand right wing meme culture, because DHS
would say
would totally
would
post
agree
that.
with me.
Yeah, no, would totally post that, like, ironically / unironically, with upgraded imagery, and it would be based.
You're kidding.
And do what?
It would be based.
It would be based, yeah.
Yeah, but the first time is
Well,
farce.
but
and
like-
the second time, it's actually they're taking it was supposed to be a critical commentary on the fucked up state of the US 20 years ago.
But like, those guys of South Park did that, right? So they're like, they're like, Disneyland, fuck yeah.
Porno.
Playboy. What was it, like? Some kind of drugs, sneakers, Reebok, fake boobs, sushi, fuck yeah, Taco Bell, Bed Bath and Beyond, fake lips.
But the thing is, no one's laughing now. Well, they are, but they're also another
Santa Claus, Popeye.
All those things. Well, not all of them, but a bunch of them are like.
Well, no, but the point about it is that they might do it unironically, but it would be a bit stupid, because like those guys from South Park just did a bunch of crass stuff that aren't actually. Nobody would want to stand by them and say this is what makes America great, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Sure.
I mean, the
edited version would do well.
Yeah, they would use the soundtrack.
Yeah,
and just put in different.
But there's a serious point being made. I mean, Trump is out there every chance he can telling people their grocery prices are down.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much of it does he believe that they have entered the golden age? Because people are not doing better than they were a year ago, objectively. I mean, another consequence, maybe it's just short term, but the SNAP food program, which basically is like benefits for the 10th poorest percentile of the population in the US, they just stopped. So they don't have extra income that go towards grocery goods and stuff. So overnight, a bunch of people just got hungrier. Like a large number of people, 43 million people. And overall, grocery prices are not far from it. Inflation is bonkers. So you see people, I saw a few of them anyway. There was a trend on X. People were posting photos of beef prices from the local stores, like $50, $60 for a few steaks and stuff. And
It's weird to
it's
be like,
bad, man. It's objectively bad, but DHS in that the vein of what Trump's telling people, he's bigging up how awesome it all is. If we all believe it, it will actually start to lift up structurally. No, structurally it's going down.
well, that's the problem. For a long time that worked, you know what I mean, and has worked. You know, it was as a compliment to the actual, you know, when America was more solidly still the global hegemon and had more of the empire than it has today. It could, through access to resources and its control of the globe, and obviously the dollars, reserve currency, and all that kind of stuff, which it still is, obviously, but not having peer competitors. When it had that material, that real world ability to actually, you know, get access to resources and make America great and keep America wealthy and all that kind of stuff, talking it up at that point was a good adjunct to that to reinforce it, you know. But whenever you start to take away that the actual real world economic aspect of it, when that starts to falter a little bit, doubling down on the propaganda isn't going to help.
It's not going to wash. No.
But they've done that for so long that they don't know what else to do. You know, I mean, that's the way Americans have been brought up to see the world and to think about themselves in the world, their place in the world. So you can't ask them to just switch it all up now. You know?
He announced this week, like with pride, 50-year mortgages. Did you see that?
Yeah. Isn't it awesome? Yeah.
50. Oh, and he posted through social a photo side by side of him and FDR. 30-year mortgages, which came with, you know, the New Deal, and now Trump, 50-year mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, thanks. So basically, we just pay rent to a bank for our entire lives.
For pretty much our entire lives, yeah. Get a mortgage at 30 and finish paying it when you die.
It's so yeah. I'm laughing along. The memes are funny, but I can't even enjoy that anymore because that's why I titled the show MAGA. It really is faltering, and it's not just, you don't have to be, you know, watching things too closely to feel it. Americans are posting photos of the beef in their store and they're going, WTF.
Yeah. What's weird is just to see all this stuff like Pete Hegseth was talking about. I feel it and you feel it. We all feel it. We feel something coming, something. Everybody's got the feels, right? There's something not right. And Pete Hegseth as Secretary of War, is his angle is, you know, it's a threat and we got to confront that threat, you know. We got to build up our military because that'll help the economy as well, right? So that's how we solve the problem. But I think what they're feeling is something else, you know, and we talk about it, you know, everybody. I don't know if we talk about it too much and we give ourselves the feels, or if the feels are actually objective because, you know, they're actually happening out there. But then you look and you see people complaining about groceries or this, that and the other, or immigrants or whatever. So everybody is feeling a bit disgruntled. Back in the day, that's what the what was it called? Department of Homeland? No, after 9/11, what was the department that was created called?
That was Homeland. Yeah. DHS.
Was that DHS created then? Okay.
Yeah.
DHS was created then, and what do you call him? What was his name? The first director, Tom, whatever. He talked about disgruntled citizens, that they were actually an enemy, potential
people who weren't
threat.
Getting having the feels with us. They weren't feeling with us.
Right. Yeah.
Anyone criticizing,
disgruntled.
Anyone asking questions like, maybe, why did Al-Qaeda attack us?
He said just disgruntled citizens. People weren't happy with the way things were going. You need to shut up because you could be in jail or on a no-fly list or something. So anyway, there's a lot of disgruntled citizens around the world, but it's weird. What's weird is to see that and feel that and get that impression and assume that it's a real thing and that people are actually feeling something is not right, which obviously you can enumerate lots of things that aren't right. But then to have things just continue on, you know, there doesn't seem to be any real systemic problems, you know, where it's being felt by people in a personal way, you know what I mean? But I always think that has to be a long, drawn-out process, because when that collapses, when that tips over the edge, it's done really quickly, you know what I mean? It's over and done with. Like it spirals, you know. It is a edge cliff kind of thing, you know. So it's kind of like coming up to a waterfall in a boat type thing, and you're hearing the sound of the roaring water, and you're feeling a bit disgruntled and a bit on edge, whatever, you know. But however long it takes you to get to the edge of the waterfall, and once you go over, that's it. It's all at once type thing, you know. So you can't expect. You get these feels for a long time, but nothing seems to change. There doesn't seem to be anything happening in the world that really would would fill out or would clothe that impression that you have, you know what I mean, in a real way, you know. And the reason that doesn't happen is because when it does, it's going to be serious. It's kind of all at once. It'll snowball very quickly, and you can't have that. You can't have that happen for a long time, you know. So it's the lead up that happens, and it's kind of can seem a bit interminable. But anyway,
yeah.
What have you got, Harrison?
Oh, I've just been running a background fact check
A background
on a few
script.
things.
Yeah.
Well, just to correct some things that we said.
Harrison's fact checking.
Fact checking.
Yeah, fact checking.
Did you ask Grok for this?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this is going back to the beginning of the conversation. I scrolled down to the bottom of the Blaze article on the pipe bomber.
Oh yeah.
And so they added a note here saying that this is an official. This official response. CIA spokeswoman Liz Lyons reached out to Blaze News after publication, clarifying that while the subject worked in campus security, at CIA, she was never assigned to Director John Ratcliffe's personal security detail. So there's that official denial that she was actually specifically on Ratcliffe's personal security detail. And then Trump is actually still 79. He turns 80 next year.
Next year, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I just mentioned that because it seems to me, like, just from personal experience, that 80 seems to be either it's a thing, you know.
It's where you become an octogenarian.
Yeah, and it's whether it's just psychological or something because you're aware of it, or whether it's actually physiological, don't know. But not everybody, obviously. But for a lot of people, it seems like, you keep going well in your 70s, you can still do things. But then once you hit 80...
You're over the cliff now.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about it. And like, there's somebody posting a video there today of Trump in the past couple of days, like falling asleep when, I think, what do you call him? Well, he wasn't exactly falling asleep, but he looked really kind of sleepy and tired. And he looks like, I mean, and you got to expect that if he's got such a busy schedule flying around and all this kind of stuff, sure, he might be genetically well endowed in that respect in terms of resilience, and, he obviously can keep going despite the fact that he doesn't look the healthiest and he's got swollen ankles and whatnot. But that's got to catch up with you at some point. And he's got to, all the memes about Biden, sleepy Joe Biden and stuff, like
they
that
might
could
bite him.
come back to bite him,
Yeah.
But you can take heart in the fact that it doesn't really matter because the deep state is always there.
Yeah, they got your back with a knife in it.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, guys. The Muslims are coming. From
where?
Syria's President Shara, apparently that's his real name, Ahmed Shara, a.k.a. Al-Jolani. He's in D.C. for a state visit.
Yep. He was playing basketball with
America.
With the head of the anti-terrorism task force, I think. Playing basketball, shooting a few hoops with them, yeah.
Saw the hoops, yeah.
The head of ISIS.
He's learning the American way. It's great to see. Even ISIS terrorists can...
Remember when we bombed you guys? It wasn't personal.
He was Nusra, or no?
Yeah.
What was he part?
Al-Nusra, second in command of Al-Nusra, yeah. And yeah.
But then he disavowed it and formed
Yeah.
Al-Sharam, HTS, you see?
Which is totally different.
No, that's the other guys, you see?
Yeah.
The other Muslims, that's in DC, and the Muslims are also coming in New York, where they now have a Muslim mayor.
A complete commie. Full-on commie. Pinko.
Ethnic Indian, Uganda-born, democratic socialist, Muslim, youngest ever mayor at 34.
Nice.
New York City. He's
Winning.
mayor-elect. Beat that idiot Cuomo.
Nice.
There's a lot going on there. I mean, first off, just step back 25 years after 9/11. It's striking, no? Just on the face of it. But obviously, I'm not going to bash him because mainstream MAGA expects everyone to bash him because Muslim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, because lefty. They're not just being totally bigoted. It's more because of his... his leftism, embrace of wokery to some extent. I mean, I don't know how woke he can really be, given that he's, practicing Muslim. But obviously, he's got allies on the progressive left with AOC and Sanders and so on. I don't hate him for that. I mean, for me, some respect, I think it's an accurate take that the turning point for his popularity possibly came when he refused to bow down to the mantra that Israel is our greatest ally.
Yeah.
He said, no, it's genocide. And he stuck with it. That's also novel. In any other situation, that person would not be elected by hook or crook. But he still got elected officially just about. But there's an interesting breakdown in New York, of course, a lot of Jews. After Israel, the most Jews in the world live in New York City. 40% of them voted for Mamdani. So they don't care about he's supposed to be on the wrong side. They tossed that out and said, we're voting for him.
Did you see in the debates from...
That's what I was thinking. That was the turning point.
Yeah, well, that was most interesting just because he said that he wouldn't go to Israel.
Yeah.
What for him, but what was most interesting for me was seeing every single other one of those candidates all say that the first thing they would do if they win, if they become mayor of New York, is to go to Israel.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I mean,
that they all knew to say that.
And it's one of those things where it's like, how can people not recognize that you've got a conflict of interest, that there's an Israel problem in American politics when they see that? The very first thing you're going to do is go to Israel. And
as
you're
the mayor of a city.
Yeah, as the mayor of a city in America, you're going to Israel. Do you want to listen to it?
Yeah.
Go.
Because it's a great... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
Where?
Right, Ms. Adams.
First
Seychelles?
visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Surprising.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Okay,
Mr.
interesting.
Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah,
Anywhere
I'd
else?
make my fourth trip to Israel, followed by my fifth trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies. Fighting
Israel and
on
then
the front
Ukraine.
2 for 1.
of the glowal war on terror.
Nice.
Mr. Mamdani?
Anywhere else?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on
And they
that.
both look at him.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel
The interviewer.
as mayor?
I will be doing.
She didn't let him away
as the
with it.
mayor, I'll be standing up
Moderator.
for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples, or at
Great
their
answer.
homes, or at the subway platform.
So
because
she's like-
ultimately, we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And
as
just
we've
yes or
seen,
no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
As a Jewish state?
No,
As a state
As
with
a
equal
Jewish
rights.
state?
he won't
Not as a
say it
Jewish
has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear.
his answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was
unlike
trying
you-
to
Did
say.
you all hear him say that?
Unlike
He
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah.
Well, bar mitzvah too.
bar
Nice.
mitzvah.
You get extra points for that.
fairness, he's Jewish.
He gets
He
extra.
would say that.
He gets extra points.
But
Did you all hear him say that? He said he wouldn't go to Israel.
Cuomo thought he'd won at that point.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, I did it. You heard it. I won. He'll never win.
And the moderator, like, this is just like, where would you go on your first day? Like, just a general, where would you go on your first state trip, if you get to be mayor?
But it was
It's
a
like-
trap question,
well,
and she
well,
revealed
it's-
that it
yeah.
was.
And she says, okay, you, Israel, not Israel? Okay. So do you hate Israel? Are you an anti-Semite? Because obviously the point was you were meant to say that you go to Israel. Did you miss that? I was setting it up for you. You're meant to say, I would go to Israel and kiss whoever the Israeli prime minister's ass is.
Certainly the wall.
And headbang that wall. That's what you're meant to do. Right? So it's making me wonder now whether or not you're an anti-Semite and you hate the Jews and you don't think they have a right to exist. And if I was him, I'd be like, wasn't this just a question about where I'd go? How did we suddenly escalate to I'm a fucking anti-Semite and where the fuck? I'd be like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. You people are fucking crazy. I'm walking away. Like,
I assumed there was no messing. It was a straight vote, and the turnout was accurate. The breakdown was accurate. We've got a clash of two worlds. Maybe it's just generational. Like, they're in a different world that no longer exists anymore, and the youth from 40 down are like, that doesn't mean anything to us anymore. It's gone. It's finished.
ridiculous.
It's finished on the right and it's finished on the left. That's the very least takeaway you can get from this.
It's one silver lining.
The day before the election, it was a terrible incident happened in New York, actually, related to this.
Well, there's a good comment first. Read that newest comment. It's telling that he immediately takes a buddy photo with Soros's kid. Yeah,
right. It's not the end of the story because we know he's not immediately, but we know that Alex Soros has contributed to his campaign or supports his campaign. But he, like Sanders, I suppose, he will big up the fact that the vast majority of his donations come from small donors.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he'll say, that's why I won, versus the $8 million that whoever Bill Ackman gave to defeat me and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not the whole story. You've got other Jews who supported them, because they embrace wokery certainly over the Likud run Israel.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Terrible incident happened. I believe it was the day of. Jewish sites sprayed with swastikas in Brooklyn in completely unacceptable overnight incident, Senator says. 3 Jewish institutions in Brooklyn were sprayed with swastikas. A yeshiva, a cemetery, and Jewish social services organization were targeted. Why? Simply because they stand for Judaism, says Senator Sam Sutton. Don't know which party he's left or right, doesn't matter. He's saying the right thing. Thankfully, though, they found the culprit.
And it was a Jew.
And anti-Semitism is really bad. You should never, ever, ever, ever do this. So we got the guy.
I've been doing that for years.
There he is on the bike. And wait a minute. This must be the wrong video. That can't be right. That's a Jew.
Oy vey, shut it down.
Oy vey, no.
Oy vey, shut that down.
Okay, sorry. Stop playing. That's anti-Semitic.
Unplug on that one.
We can't, no.
That's been happening for years, and not just in the US, but in France and all kinds of stuff, where people, loads of stories where swastikas painted on synagogues and Jewish cemeteries and stuff like that, and then turns out it was a Jew. And he's like, well, it's just that people don't realize just how bad the anti-Semitism is, so I needed to highlight it for them, and I couldn't find enough people actually, because it's this kind of like low-key anti-Semitism, and I need to make it overt. I mean, it will become overt at some point, but I need to
bring it out
now,
because I know it's in them.
Yeah,
it's genetic. It's in their DNA.
I need to do it for them.
How many times have we heard them say it now? It's genetic. It's in their DNA.
We need to do it for them. Yeah. All right. We're past the top of the hour, so and Harrison's got a pressing engagement later on this evening. So,
all right,
we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Why don't Paris take a shower before they walk the plank, Harrison?
I don't know.
They just wash up on shore. Nice.
And join us next week for Joe's Jokes.
For another hilarious joke, which is the only reason why people listen, just for that joke at the end. So we'll leave it there for this week, folks. Thanks for listening, watching. Thanks for commenting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and whatever else people do on videos. So until then, have a good week, and we'll be back next week with another show on whatever bullshit's been going on between now and then. See ya.
Thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.
Can't stop the signal now.